Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this with your friends. Share it with your enemies to piss them off. As always, all the links are included below. The polls don't make any sense. We can look at them and we're seeing Joe Biden, who doesn't draw any crowds in public. You've seen them where they draw those creepy circles around people, like this is some sort of occult ritual. He doesn't draw any crowds on his live streaming events. You never see any Biden signs. This is a man who is about as enthusiastic as a wet dish rag, and we're supposed to believe, according to these polls, that he's going to win by double digits. He's not only going to outperform Hillary Clinton, he's going to outperform Barack Obama in 2008. More so than that, even, he's going to flip districts that have been Republican for longer than he was alive, and is supposed to do better than FDR did in 1944. Now, if you believe that Joe Biden is going to win by 12 to 20 points, then you're an idiot. There's no way that that could possibly happen. But that's something that the lamestream media and these pollsters who are working for the Democrat Party, they are preparing the American people for shenanigans on election night. They are priming them with these polls that will show a Biden landslide, so that when we see it look like Trump is winning, they're going to assume that that's a mistake and that he has stolen the election. Multi-billionaire and former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg has a think tank called Hawkfish, and they predicted, based on the fact that Republicans mostly vote in person and Democrats mostly vote by mail, that on election night we should expect to see Donald Trump win in a landslide in the Electoral College and very likely the popular vote as well. But as the days go on and mail-in ballots are counted, most of the states will flip, and we'll see that it was really Biden who won in a landslide. They call this the red mirage. Now, this is a clever psyops that they're using to prime the public to reject the outcome of the election as invalid if it shows Donald Trump winning. Then in the coming days or even weeks, they can materialize ballots out of thin air in the exact numbers and in the exact districts needed to flip the election in Biden's favor, all while casting Trump as the villain who will not accept the peaceful transition of power. This coming from the same people who have resisted the peaceful transition of power to Donald Trump for 4 years, calling him an illegitimate president, alleging he stole the election from Hillary Clinton with the aid of Russian collaborators, and throwing everything in the kitchen sink at Donald Trump throughout his entire term to get him removed from office. Now, this hawkfish scenario does not make any sense, even if they say it is extremely likely, because if we do see Trump win in a landslide on election night, because millions of Democrat ballots have not yet been counted, we can see that the number of total votes is much too low. If millions of votes were missing on election night, we would be extremely suspicious of the results, and that would indicate to any rational person that Trump did not win just yet, as all the votes had not been counted. A rational person would wait for those missing votes to be found and counted, or else disqualified on technical grounds, before accepting the outcome. We know Trump would not call the result of the election if millions of votes were missing. He would wait. But Hawkfish and their Democrat donors are trying to brainwash the American people into them to think that Donald Trump is evil. Now, Bloomberg isn't the only leftist doing wargaming. John Podesta, the architect of Hillary Clinton's failed 2016 campaign, who owns Jeffrey Dahmer serial killer artwork, ran another war game. They called it the Transition Integrity Project. Podesta got together with a group of Never Trump Republicans to appear bipartisan. While they say they took the exercise out of concern that the Trump administration may seek to manipulate, ignore, undermine, or disrupt the 2020 presidential election and transition process, the truth is exactly the opposite. In their war game, they predict 4 possible outcomes: a clear Biden victory, a narrow Biden victory, a clear Trump victory, and a situation like in 2000 where there's a tie. Now, they expect there to be riots in the streets in the events of a tie, and in fact say both candidates will tell their supporters to riot. But we already had a tie in 2000 when the election in Florida was too close to call because poorly designed ballots made people mistakenly vote for Pat Buchanan. In that case, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of George Bush on December 12th by a 5-4 margin, and everyone then accepted it. And that is why we must have 9 justices before the election. Otherwise, there will be the possibility of a 4-4 split. Now, in the instance of a clear Biden victory, Trump does step down after pardoning some people to protect his family. And in a narrow Biden victory, Trump calls for riots from the alt-right groups who he has denounced multiple times. And the Secret Service has to drag him out of the White House kicking and screaming in some pink-haired revenge fantasy. None of that is believable by any stretch of the imagination. These 3 scenarios are part of the psyops to poison the well and make the American people think that Trump is Hitler and will refuse to accept defeat, much as the Democrats have been doing for 4 years. The last scenario, where Trump wins, is the most telling. Now, what are John Podesta and Hillary Clinton telling Joe Biden to do in an event that Trump wins? Here's a hint. It's the same thing they've been doing for the past 4 years. In the event of a Trump victory, they are advising Biden to not concede under any circumstances. That's Hillary Clinton's own words. After spending 4 years braying nonstop that Trump will refuse to accept the peaceful transition of power, Hillary Clinton and John Podesta are advising Joe Biden to refuse to accept the peaceful transition of power no matter what. In this scenario, Biden is supposed to urge California, Oregon, and Washington to secede from the Union and start a second civil war to force Congress to abolish the Electoral College and install him as president. Along with the abolition of the Electoral College and the installation of Joe Biden as president, even though he was defeated, the goals of the left in the Second Civil War, including making Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states, which would require a constitutional amendment, as the Constitution clearly says that the federal district cannot be located in any state, breaking California into 5 states, and forcing Supreme Court justices to retire at age 70. This scenario would turn the United States into a one-party country run by the extreme far-left Democrats permanently. This scenario ends with the chilling statement that there will be a stalemate in Congress over what to do, and that it will be up to the military to decide who becomes the next president. This is terrifying. This is evil. This is not what happens in Western superpowers. This is what happens in failed states and banana republics. Of course, the left are not planning on waiting for the military to step in and decide. They're planning to take to the streets and escalate violence that has been going on for months in these riots that have set American cities to blaze. Now you see why it is absolutely imperative to vote for Donald Trump and to not be afraid of the repercussions. If Donald Trump is reelected, he will put down these riots. We've already seen he has begun to federalize the police in order to stop the rioting. We cannot give in to the threats of these terroristic Democrats. We must vote for Trump in November, or there won't be a United States left come next year. Now, if you like this video, it's actually adapted from a book that I've just finished. All I have to do is format it and put it up on Amazon, a nice ebook for you that has a whole lot more information about this election. I hope to have had it out sooner, but real life interrupted me, and there were a few weeks when I couldn't write. But better late than never. It's going to be called the Second Civil War, I hope, if they accept that. So look out for it. Thank you, and good night.